Viewer discretion is advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only, drawn from inner-city presses reporting on the federal courtroom testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. What unfolded in that courtroom wasn't just a legal proceeding. It was a seismic event that could shake the foundations of the entertainment industry. Wendy Williams, the unapologetic voice once dubbed the Queen of Hot Topics, took the stand, not to gossip, but to deliver a chilling, sworn account of systemic corruption, abuse, and silence that spanned decades. Her words weren't about one man. They exposed a network of power, protection, and betrayal that reached far beyond Diddy, implicating titans like Jay-Z and others in a web of calculated control. Wendy entered the courtroom not as a celebrity, but as a survivor who had clawed her way through years of industry attempts to bury her. The media had tried to muzzle her with lawsuits, threats, and ridicule, but now she sat before the jury, composed, deliberate, adjusting her microphone with the same commanding presence that once dominated radio airwaves. She began with a declaration that set the tone. She wasn't messy, bitter, or lying. She was ahead of her time. Her testimony was a meticulously detailed recounting of what she had warned about for years, now validated by a federal investigation. Armed with a stack of documents, transcripts, emails, and a timeline of events, she laid out how Diddy allegedly orchestrated a campaign to silence her from the early 2000s when she first spoke out. Back then, she said, merely mentioning his name triggered swift repercussions. Station managers issued warnings, advertisers vanished, and subtle but menacing threats arrived. She recounted a moment when a girl group, allegedly sent by Diddy, confronted her outside her radio station after she called them out on air. It wasn't random, it was a message. Her career, she explained, became a battlefield. Every revelation about Diddy's parties or his treatment of artists cost her something: a sponsor, a syndication deal, an invitation. Yet she persisted, refusing to be erased. Now, under oath, she was determined to make the truth undeniable. The jury leaned in as she shifted focus to another figure she had long cautioned against: Jay-Z. Her voice sharpened as she recounted disturbing details about his relationship with then 15-year-old Foxy Brown, reading lyrics he allegedly wrote for her debut album, lyrics that raised eyebrows in the courtroom. She spoke of rumors, a tape, a burglary, a sudden silence, and how her radio show was abruptly canceled after she dared question Jay-Z's actions. Emails and call logs, she claimed, showed his team quietly blacklisting anyone who mentioned Foxy's name. The pattern was clear. Speak out, and you'd be painted as a villain. Then came the revelations that stunned the room. Wendy described Diddy's infamous freak-offs, not as parties but as meticulously planned operations. She recounted whispers from the late 90s. Phones confiscated, NDAs enforced, candlelit escorts, and cameras in private rooms. These weren't celebrations. They were rituals. She referenced accounts from guests, including Corrine Superhead Steffens, who described Diddy's paranoia and bizarre demands. Wendy had aired these stories repeatedly, knowing their weight. She produced pseudonymous testimony from others who spoke of 4 bags and medical staff on standby, details now echoed in the federal indictment. And then the baby oil, a throwaway comment she'd once made on air, now chillingly corroborated by the discovery of over 1,000 bottles. She had known because people trusted her to say what others wouldn't. Wendy's testimony turned to Cassie Ventura, a name she defended since 2008. She recalled spotting fear in Cassie's eyes, an imbalance in her relationship with Diddy that was more about control than love. Clips from her show, now entered as evidence, showed Cassie flinching at Diddy's raised voice, trauma, not nerves, when he insisted. She described how Diddy allegedly tracked Cassie's movements, appeared uninvited at hotels, and used his industry clout to trap her. When Wendy spoke out, her sponsors pulled out. A 2018 incident, where Diddy reportedly forced his way into Cassie's home, was no surprise to her. She'd seen the signs years earlier. The mogul's world, she explained, was built on grooming, isolating, and leveraging luxury to enforce compliance. Cassie's lawsuit, she said, was the breaking of a chain, but at a steep cost. The courtroom grew heavier as Wendy revealed the personal toll of her defiance. In 2004, at the height of her radio dominance, a record label executive warned her to stop talking about Diddy or face consequences. Days later, her prime time slot was gone. She described strategic calls Diddy allegedly made to label heads and networks, isolating her from the industry. A confrontation with a girl group total outside her studio. Fans press against the glass. Felt like a calculated warning. We can reach you. BET events, media passes, and advertising deals vanished, all tied to emails from bad boys PR firms cutting ties with her platform. Yet she kept speaking, even as she was branded toxic for questioning the untouchable. Wendy's voice took on a new edge as she broadened the scope. This wasn't just about Diddy. It was about the ecosystem that shielded him. She named Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey, prompting a hush in the courtroom. She described an unwritten list in Hollywood, a roster of names you couldn't cross without vanishing from the industry. After exposing Diddy's parties and questioning Perry's influence, her access to premieres and events dried up. An executive warned her that Oprah's team wanted her kept at a distance. She recounted betrayal. After confiding in Oprah about her own abuse, she saw her abuser celebrated on Oprah's show while she faced blacklisting. An accidentally forwarded email from a PR firm mentioning managing optics for Diddy and Perry confirmed her suspicions. This was a machine, she said, one that thrived on silence and crushed those who dared speak. The tension peaked when Wendy produced a file of NDAs, emails, and memos obtained from weary industry insiders. One 2007 NDA promised public retaliation for speaking out about Diddy's gatherings. Another email detailed a hotel's preparation for his events, candlelight, extra linens, and discretion measures. Payments to publicists and bloggers ensured his philanthropy overshadowed rumors. A photo of Diddy, Perry, and a crisis manager at a 2019 gala spoke volumes. They smiled while others were paid to stay quiet. Wendy herself had been offered an NDA for a TV deal, but she refused, paying the price. As she concluded, Wendy's voice remained steady. This trial wasn't just about Diddy. It was about the Tower of Fear, NDAs, and billion-dollar deals that protected him. She pointed to the defense table, noting the silent enablers, Jay-Z, Perry, Oprah, and countless others, who shook hands and took checks while truth-tellers were exiled. She wasn't bitter or crazy, she insisted. She was right. Looking at Diddy, she declared that his power had finally met its match in the truth. As she stepped down, she left the courtroom with a final warning. This was just the beginning. The walls were cracking, names were being named, and the tower was destined to fall.